Welcome to Roll Credits, where we dive into the trivia, production secrets, and stories behind your favorite shows and movies. This podcast was created with the help of AI tools, and while we do our best to keep things accurate and fun, the occasional error or outdated detail might slip through, so if you're quoting us in the break room at Lumon, double check and enjoy the show.
Yeah, double check those Lumon facts.
Today, we're clocking in at Lumon Industries for Severance Season 1, the series that made all of us question work-life balance.
Oh, definitely.
From macro data refinement mysteries to hidden hallway clues, we've got plenty of any-and-duty trivia to unpack.
Absolutely. And you've shared some incredible sources with us for this deep dive, really pulling back the curtain on what made Severance Season 1 just so compelling.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
So we're going to explore the show's, unsettling premise, dig into those hidden details and Easter eggs everyone's talking about, peek behind the scenes at the casting and production, and uncover some insights about the show's origins and maybe its philosophy, too.
I can't wait. So, okay, for anyone who maybe hasn't been severed from the outside world long enough to have watched it yet, let's quickly recap the setup.
Good idea.
Severance introduces us to Lumon Industries, right?
Yeah.
A company with this truly wild solution to work-life balance.
Wild is one word for it. Yeah.
It's a surgical procedure that splits employees' memories. So when you're at work, you're innie. You have zero memory of your outside life.
None at all.
And then when you leave, you're outie, and you have no idea what you did from 9 to 5.
It's such a fascinating premise, isn't it? And Season 1 focuses right on Mark Scout, played, of course, by the fantastic Adam Scott. He actually chose the procedure because he was trying to cope with losing his wife. That intense grief.
Right, the escape.
Yeah, so we follow his innie, the one stuck in that, what was it called, macro data refinement.
MDR, yeah, that weird sterile office.
That's the one. And the team is just 4 people, right? Mark, the new arrival, Helly, who's, let's just say, resistant.
Very resistant.
Then there's Irving, who's obsessed with the company history and rules.
And Dylan. Yeah.
Who seems maybe a little too comfortable with the whole setup. At least, at first.
Yeah, at first. What the show does so brilliantly in that first season, I think, is how it slowly peels back the layers on these characters.
Definitely.
You start to get their outie motivations, their innie personalities, and how those two sides, even with the memory wall, are kind of subtly influencing each other.
Right. It's this slow burn journey. The innie's trying to figure out, what is this job? What is Lumon? What is this whole severed floor about?
And it all builds to that absolutely electrifying finale. I mean, when they execute that daring plan to briefly wake up in the outside world, that ending, just wow, left us all desperate for more.
Utterly gripping. And one of the things that the sources you shared really highlight is just how much intentional detail is packed into every single frame. It rewards you for paying close attention.
Oh, absolutely. Like you mentioned, the color symbolism. Once you see that, you really can't unsee it.
Right. It's such a clear nod to classic sci-fi. The Matrix, the red pill, blue pill choice.
Yeah.
The sources point out that Audi Mark actually has a fish tank with one red and one blue bed of fish.
Oh, I missed that.
It's a visual metaphor right there. Blue is like ignorance, staying in the dark, the innie's limited world. Red is truth, knowledge, the outside world the outies live in.
And you see it in the clothes too, right? Innie's often in blues and grays.
Exactly. And outies more often in warmer colors, sometimes red tones. It's clever visual shorthand.
That's such a cool, subtle layer. And the sets themselves, I mean, they're practically characters, aren't they? Especially that MDR office. It's so distinctive and unsettling.
It really is. The sources actually reveal that the show's creator, Dan Erickson, had this really specific vision for that space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the wide open layout, that strangely low ceiling, and especially he called it the sickeningly green carpet.
Sickeningly green is perfect.
He said the final set design was remarkably close to what he'd imagined from the start.
And the little details within the set, the sources mentioned looking closely at the Lumon keyboards.
Ah, yes.
They're deliberately missing the ESC key and the CTRL key.
I totally missed that on first viewing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a perfect, concise visual metaphor, isn't it?
It really is.
The innies literally have no escape and no control.
Yeah.
Everything in their world just reinforces their powerlessness.
Ugh. It's oppressive just thinking about it. And speaking of the oppressive corporate culture, Keir Egan's presence is just everywhere, looming.
The founder. Yeah, his influence is totally pervasive. The sources give some great examples of how his legacy is baked into the lore, even tiny details.
Like
the Chinese restaurant Audi Mark goes to. It's named Zufu.
Okay.
which means paternal grandfather in Mandarin.
Yeah.
Almost certainly a reference to Kier as the, grandfather of Lumon.
Huh.
Wow.
And Pip's Bar and Grill, where Mark hangs out sometimes.
Likely refers to Philip Pip Egan, one of Kier's descendants, a former CEO. It's all interconnected.
It's all Egan all the time.
Pretty much. Yeah. And the Perpetuity Wing isn't just some dusty museum. It's like a shrine. It's all about meticulously controlling Kier's image, pushing his philosophy of, transcending death through Lumon.
Making him immortal through the company. It's this weird, almost cult-like reverence.
Exactly. And the writers were just masters at hiding clues, sometimes in the most, mundane places. File names, for instance.
Oh, the file names. This is where the show gets really fun for rewatchers. The sources point out these mysterious file names in MDR, like Montauk.
Right, a direct reference to the Montauk Project conspiracy theory, the one about memory fracturing experiments.
Yeah.
Also links to eternal sunshine of the spotless mind.
And Santa Mira, which immediately makes you think of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes. And these weren't just random, like you said. That Santa Mira one especially seemed to confirm a lot of early fan theories about Helly.
About her being an Egan. Yeah. Alina.
Exactly. It validated those suspicions. The show is just full of these little breadcrumbs. And think about the subtler cues, too, visual and audio.
Like the goat room.
Yeah, the sources mention the white-on-white farm scene stickers on the back wall of the goat room. Almost invisible unless you crank the contrast. Just adds to the strangeness.
So weird. And Irving's terrifying black goo hallucinations.
Chilling. The sources note that whenever he sees the goo, the music playing is the same classical piece his Audi plays while he's painting.
Whoa. A direct link.
It's this creepy sonic bridge between his severed selves, suggesting the trauma or mystery is bleeding through somehow.
And maybe one of the biggest visual clues, the one that paid off huge later, involved Mrs. Casey's wellness sessions.
Ah, the candle.
Yes.
The candle. That green and red candle Miss Casey uses. The sources highlight that really sharp-eyed viewers might have spotted that exact same candle earlier.
Where?
In a box of Gemma's things. Mark's supposedly deceased wife. In his basement.
No way.
Yeah, it's a major hint, right there in plain sight, linking Miss Casey to Gemma long before the big reveal.
That's brilliant. That's the kind of thing that makes you want to immediately rewatch the entire season just to catch everything you missed.
Absolutely. It really speaks to the density of the writing and, the production design, just layers upon layers.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The casting for this show is it's phenomenal across the board.
Agreed.
The sources offered some insight into how that all came together.
Yeah, the process was described as long. Apparently, the creators, Dan Erickson and Ben Stiller, they had specific ideas, but were also really open to being surprised by what actors brought in.
So not rigidly stuck on one type.
Exactly. Which is probably how they got such interesting choices.
And Adam Scott, apparently, was someone Dan Erickson had in mind for Mark pretty much from the beginning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was a big fan of Scott's work, like Parks and Rec, Party Down, saw his ability to balance the comedy and the drama.
Well, it's hard to imagine anyone else's Mark now, isn't it? He nails that sort of suppressed pain.
Totally. And the dynamic between Patricia Arquette as Cobell and Jen Tulloch as Devon, Tulloch mentioned being incredibly nervous filming with Arquette.
I bet. Arquette is intense.
Yeah, Tulloch said she was just completely in awe working alongside her. You feel that tension.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of chemistry, Christopher Walken and John Turturro as Bert and Irving.
No.
Just perfection.
Oh, their storyline is heartbreakingly beautiful.
And the sources note they were actually good friends in real life before the show even started.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that real-life friendship apparently added real emotional potency to their characters' romance. Made those scenes really special for the directors, too.
You can absolutely feel that connection on screen. It's lovely. Beyond the casting, there are some great little production tidbits from Season 1. Filming that super intense Season 1 finale gala scene sounds pretty wild.
The one where Helly's identity is revealed? Yeah, Britt Lower, who plays Helly, talked about that.
What'd she say?
The set was filled with these massive pictures of her face as Helena Egan. She said it was totally surreal, but also weirdly helpful for her performance in that moment.
Wow, staring at giant pictures of yourself while trying to act shocked, intense.
Right. And Adam Scott mentioned having to film his final screaming run towards Devon quite a bit to get that shot exactly right, that iconic moment.
I can imagine you need that perfect level of desperation.
Getting that emotional and physical beat just right was clearly crucial. And Britt Lower also shared a funnier memory.
Yeah.
A random chicken just wandered onto set one day when they were filming outside in the Bronx.
A moment of pure, unscripted reality breaking into Lumon's world.
A little taste of the outside world, literally.
Love it. The show's distinct look is also such a huge part of its success, and the sources revealed some cool, real-world architectural inspirations.
Yes, those striking exterior and atrium shots of Lumon Industries. They were filmed at the former Bell Labs complex in Holmdel, New Jersey.
It looks exactly like you'd imagine Lumon.
It's a real mid-century modernist building, designed by the famous architect Eero Saarinen. It has that perfect blend of grand scale and cold, sterile efficiency. And the production designer, Jeremy Hindle, was inspired by Saarinen's other work, too, like the John Deere headquarters, for the Lumon office feel. And by another architect, Oscar Niemeyer, specifically his use of monochromatic carpets.
Which led to the sickeningly green MDR carpet.
Bingo. It all contributes to this feeling of being in a place that's both sort of timeless and just slightly off, uncanny.
It makes the environment itself feel like another tool of control, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And a lot of the show's unique vision, the tone, comes from executive producer Ben Stiller. He also directed multiple key episodes.
Right, he did the first 3 and the last 3, didn't he? Crucial ones.
Yep. And he co-directed some with an Irish director, Eof McArdle. She describes Stiller as really collaborative, always pushing creative limits, encouraging her own visual ideas.
Sounds like a great creative partnership driving the show. And Stiller himself shared a funny story about realizing the show had caught on.
Oh, yeah.
He overheard someone in real life just casually using the terms innie and outie to explain the series to a friend.
Huh. That's when you know you've made it, right? When your show's jargon enters the actual lexicon.
Definitely. And speaking of iconic elements, we have to mention the music.
Oh, the score by Theodore Shapiro.
Yeah.
Instantly recognizable and unsettling.
That main theme, it just gets under your skin in the best way.
It really does. Shapiro mentioned the theme came about through a serendipitous route. He sent ideas to Stiller, who really latched onto that now familiar minimalist piano motif, those 4 chords.
And that glitchy static sound.
Apparently, to create that uniquely unsettling sound, he experimented with reversing piano notes and literally just cutting out sections of the audio file, chopping it up.
Wow. It perfectly mirrors that broken, fragmented feeling of the characters' minds.
Exactly. It's brilliant sound design.
Okay, so let's touch on just a couple of maybe lesser-known insights from the sources that really get to the heart of the show.
Okay.
The creator, Dan Erickson, revealed the actual genesis of the idea for Severance, where it came from.
And it wasn't some grand philosophical concept initially.
Not exactly. It came from a really relatable fantasy, actually. He was just wishing he could mentally skip past a workday he wasn't looking forward to and just, walk away with the paycheck at the end, having not experienced the boring or difficult parts.
Wow. That simple, almost mundane desire for a shortcut
became the seed for this incredibly complex, thoughtful series about work, identity, grief, consciousness, everything.
That's fascinating. And the production design, it wasn't just about creating cool, sterile sets either, was it?
No, according to Jeremy Hindle, the production designer, the contrast between Lumon's look and the Audi's homes serves a deeper purpose.
How so?
Well, think about Mark's life outside. Lumon's influence isn't just on the severed floor. He lives in this characterless, Lumen-subsidized townhouse.
Right. It feels kind of dark and bland.
Totally. And the sources note how different it is from the warmer, more lived-in, more real homes of characters, less tangled up with the company, like his sister Devin and Rickon.
Yeah, their house feels much more human.
It's like a visual representation of how Lumon just pervades every aspect of the severed employees' lives, even outside work. Sometimes subtly, sometimes, overtly, like Cobell living right next door in her weird, almost monastic house.
Right. It really highlights how Severance isn't just about separating work from life, but maybe how the company tries to control and infiltrate life itself.
It makes you wonder, what does it truly mean to be you when your memories and experiences are deliberately fractured like that?
Deep questions.
And that wraps our deep dive into Severance Season 1. If you enjoyed digging through Lumon's files with us, follow Roll Credits and share it with a fellow innie or outie. We'll be back soon with more behind-the-scenes stories and fun facts. Until then, stay severed, but stay curious.
Yeah, stay curious.
Yeah.
And maybe ask yourself, what parts of our own lives might we be unknowingly compartmentalizing, even without a Lumon chip in our heads?